It's been a long time since I was this excited for a new EV, but Scout is back and they just unveiled two new models. We have the Traveler SUV and the Terra pickup. Let's see if this mic stays down here first of all. So on paper, these look to be the perfect EVs because we have so many features. Not just when it comes to the design, but also, I mean, the exterior design looks fantastic. The interior is even better. I love what they said in the presentation here about physical knobs and buttons.
Somehow, when the world got digitized, I promise you, Americans have not forgotten how to do things, like open a car door, like turn a knob, like pull a switch. So I promised you all sorts of functionality to let Americans stay functional and keep doing things themselves, is having AI take over everything that's out there in this vehicle.
People don't want to adjust their temp and their volume on screens, on pixels. Of course we want to have physical knobs and buttons, and they are really rugged here as well. And the exterior design looks fantastic, and then you have this range extender, which sort of makes me a little bit worried. It sounds great, but at the same time I'm thinking, why has nobody else thought to have this solution for an EV, to have a sort of a gas engine that they said powered the battery for up to 500 miles of range. So if you run out of battery juice, you can always fill it up with a small gas tank. And I think that is a fantastic idea. And it feels like it's, you know, just a natural thing to put in an EV, but nobody has done it before. So I'm wondering if they sort of had a huge problem that only Scout has been able to solve. But before we jump into Photoshop here and have a look at this, in my opinion, gorgeous design, simplicity all around, and it also has clear graphics, which makes this stand out, even though it's a very minimalistic design. Before we jump into Photoshop, let's have a look at this article from Motor One. I'm going to link this down below if you want to go and check this out. And I'm also going to link the full presentation because I really loved the presentation, both from the designer and I think some boss within the company also talked a little bit about the background and the technicalities of the Scouts. Going to link both those down below. So after a 44-year hiatus, the brand is showing off two new production intent concepts. And if I look at these, they definitely look 100% production ready, specifically if you look at the interior. The Traveler SUV and the Terra truck, both drawing inspiration from the original Scout vehicles built by International Harvester between 1961 and 1980. But the brand will have more than just pure electric vehicles. So the Harvester is an optional extended range energy system, a gas power generator that increases the range to more than 500 miles. And I think if you have more than 500 miles in a package like this, I mean, the Scout is supposed to be an off-roader adventure vehicle. You want to take it far out into the wilderness, so you need to have some sort of system like this if you want to make it you know, take it seriously as a Scout. And I think they sort of solved that with this range extender here. Scout didn't provide any official specs, but the company says that the EV will be able to sprint 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. A number that sounds cool, but not something that I'm really, you know, taken into consideration in a package like this. I don't mind if this did 0 to 60 in 5 seconds. It's not going to be a big deal for me, but it's still quick, thanks to the nearly 1,000 pound-feet of estimated torque on board. So we'll be capable of fitting up to 35-inch tires. They'll have over 1 feet of ground clearance and nearly 3 feet of water fording capabilities. Mechanical goodies for the off-roaders include a front sway bar disconnect, you have front and rear lockers, and you also have a solid rear axle. So on paper, as I said, it sounds like this is a very, probably the best off-road EV I've seen so far with this extender and also all these mechanical features and the interior as well. I can't wait to show you the interior. So the Traveler SUV will be able to tow over 7,000 pounds, while the Terra truck will pull over 10,000 pounds. Both have a payload of about 2,000 pounds, 800-volt architecture, bi-directional charging, and up to 350 kilowatts of charging capability, meaning that it will charge very fast at the top of the range of what's possible today. So the Scout Terra will have a 5.5 foot bed with 220 volt power outlets and also one 240 volt outlets. Now inside, again, go look at the presentation from Scout themselves and how they emphasized the importance of having physical buttons in the interior. So inside, tactile controls for climate sit beneath the large central screen, which I think is also pretty decently integrated here. With Scout taking design cues from the original Scout 2, the automaker will offer Terra Truck with an available front bench seat. I think that's cool too. That replaces the multifunctional center console. It'll have mechanical door handles as well. So overall, all the mechanical features, all the physical knobs and buttons and door handles, well done, Scout. I really hope that they managed to put these into production, both of these, because when I look at them, as I said, it does look very production ready. The entry-level travel will start as low as $50,000 with incentives, while the Terra Truck will have a $51,500 price tag, with retail prices both starting under 60 grand, and it's projected to start production sometime in 2027. So they have about 2 years to figure out how to put these into production. And as I said, I am rooting for this company. I really want to see these succeed, and I want to see these out on the roads, because I think this is one of these companies or vehicles that, with all these features that we just talked about, I think this could change the overall perception of what you can do with an EV. Because I always thought that if you're gonna have a beefy EV like this, all the EV trucks that we have right now and so on, with big tires, the Hummer EV, it's not a vehicle that I wouldn't feel confident taking that on a long road trip up into the wilderness, because I don't know if I'm gonna be able to charge. But if you have an extender like we have here, that would solve that problem, and I think it's such a cool idea. So looking at the design here, a couple of small design features that I love, specifically graphics, in both the truck and the SUV. For example, looking at the front end here. First of all, they call these two features, the front end here, they call these two masks. So we have one mask in the front right here that houses all the key graphics in the front end. The designer also said that he wanted to put the Scout logo off center, so to the right, as a signature for the work that they put into this. So almost like the designer's signature to the right here in the grille. I think it looks very cool. These are inspired by binoculars, the headlights here, and look at how this wraps around the corner here. This is a detail that I love to see. We have the daytime run light here, very thick piece, and then you have this chamfer, body color chamfer coming in, and you have a hole, a cutout in this bodywork on the side, where this LED then comes back and creating these an homage to the old, position lights that you had on the old 70s trucks, the orange little piece. That is what this is supposed to symbolize, and I think it looks very cool. The front end here looks a little bit different from what we have on the truck. They decided to make some different design here in the graphics for the lower section, this skid plate. And you also have tow hooks here, and you have tie downs up on the hood. You can't really see it here. Barely see them up here. The overall styling for this, I think it reminds me of when I first saw the new Ford Bronco, which I also love because it had such a boxy, cool design to it. And this also definitely looks like an old school design that came back today. And looking at the truck here, you can see that the only change in the front end is essentially the skid plate design. So in the SUV, we have slots going down here, parallel with each other. In the truck, they switched it up a little bit and made it a little bit more aggressive with these dips or dimples that we have in here. And they said they also switched up the hood design to make it a little bit more aggressive here again on the truck compared to the SUV. And now looking at the side view, this is a gorgeous looking side view. Look at this line here from the front bumper going into the side, cutting out a lot of volume down here, but it goes in one single line from the front bumper through the center portion of the car and into the rear bumper, wrapping around the entire car, looking beautiful. So if you look at the overall proportions of this, it sort of looks like a 70s SUV to me, except for this line right here. So how this swings upwards. And I like this because this breaks this 100% nostalgic feel that we would otherwise have if, for example, this was just go down here and create a corner in this area like this. Instead of doing that, they decided to add this upswing, which also has some reminiscent to the old Scouts, and that also makes it look a little bit more modern than if we were to not have that. I also love that they emphasize the physical, mechanical door handles, and these are backlit, so very easy to find these door handles at night because you have an LED strip going behind them. Details like that I hope they keep when they put this into production. Very sharp A-pillar here as well. If you draw the A-pillar all the way down here, you can see how well it connects to almost the center line of the front axle, even if we have these big off-road tires. So the proportions are just on point with the SUV. Now looking at the truck here, this reminds me a lot of the Rivian R1T, with the same sort of almost product design feel in the bodywork here. Nothing wrong with that. We still have the same sort of line that we have in the SUV here, cutting through the center portion of the middle section into the front bumper, and a very soft shoulder line up top, looking beautiful. It's very rounded and soft organic feel in the overall bodywork of this truck. And then they have this little upswing in this area. This is details that I love. Probably the designers love to create stuff like this because this is clearly inspired by the Scout 80. If you look at the Scout 80, it has the same sort of treatment in this area, so they decided to just take that and slap that onto the new truck here. I really like that implementation. You have some beautiful integrated not door handles, but handles here, grab handles. If you want to step up here, you have a step down here and check what's in the bed. You can grab through this piece here because this is hollow. The bodywork curves here, and you have a hollow piece that sticks out and creates a grab handle. Details like that makes this, even though if you look at the design overall, it's a very, as I said, minimalistic design. But all these small little graphic features just makes it very unique, and it's not an easy thing to do. You can see just how short the overhang is in the front end compared to the rear, and same goes for the SUV here. You can see that the volumes, the mass is pushed backwards, creating a very nice stance for this car, both from a side view and also from a rear, of course, and the front end with these big fenders that we have going on here into the beautiful shoulder line. Now looking at the rear end, last but not least, before we have a look at the fantastic looking interior, is first of all, we still have the same mask treatment here like we have in the front end. A big spare tire for the SUV. And you can see that the graphic for the holder or the mount for the spare tire continues in the same line as this mask that we're talking about in the presentation, which is this mask right here that houses all the graphic features. Same treatment like we have in the front end with this cutout with this LED daytime run light here coming back through the bodywork here, looking stunning. A small little unique detail for the Scout. Looks like we have a full light bar up top here as a brake light. I think it looks great as well, very modern. Same tie downs here, hooks like we have in the front end as well. These might be some reverse lights, I do believe, and it looks like the approach angle and the departure angle for this truck is very good, especially, I'm not sure if these are actually 35-inch tires because they said that they could fit 35-inch tires on here. These might be 33s, I'm not entirely sure. I'm not sure if I would put 35s because looking at the proportions here, I think these sizes, whatever these are, if they were 35, that's great, but if they're 33s, I don't think I would slap 35s on here because the proportions just look great with this size of tire. So we have a little bit of a different design in the rear end for the truck here. Same sort of mask like we talked about. Full LED, even cutting in to the tailgate here, which is not a cheap solution to make because this tailgate, of course, is folding down, meaning it's a moving part, and having the LED continue into that is going to add some expense to this truck, but I think they solved it pretty well here. You still have the Scout logo off to the right in the rear, and the same sort of bumper like we have in the SUV coming back here on the truck. And here you can also see more clearly the grab handle that's hollowed out here. This is what I appreciate as a designer, to just have these functional pieces that almost hides in the overall design, but they're very functional still, and you almost need to look for them to see that they're actually there. Now, last but not least, this is a super classy looking interior. I love the old school fabric vibe that we have for the seats. All the physical knobs and buttons right here in the middle. We have two parallel lines right here that houses both the infotainment screen in the middle, and then you have the gauge cluster on right behind the steering wheel. The steering wheel itself, if you look closely here, you can see that we have a bunch of physical knobs and buttons in the steering wheel itself. everything feeling rugged and solid, easy to find when you're on the highway or when you're on, you know, a trail or something like that. Can you imagine who would want to pick, you know, a pixelated screen to adjust whatever settings they need to adjust when they're focusing on driving? You want to have it be there automatically. You just need to put your hand there and feel your way to what it is you're adjusting. And that is exactly what happened here. This is what I want to see more of companies do. And I feel like I hope that a lot more companies will go this route and follow what Scout did here. Even though these are still concepts, I don't think they're gonna switch up a lot for the production version, because if you look at this, I mean, I don't see anything in here that looks too conceptual to not be able to be put into production. Everything looks ready to go. We have some very nice industrial looking vents here as well. Dual phone chargers here. You just slide your phone down there. Rubberized compartment down here, and a couple of cup holders as well. So overall, I think Scout has done an absolutely fantastic job. I'm not sure how big the team is to create something like this in a pretty short amount of time, but hopefully, as I said, really hope that Scout is going to be able to make this and put these into production, because I think with the extender and all the features that you have, this is going to be a very cool EV, and it's going to give Rivian and Tesla a lot of competition if they put this into production.